So I want to draw a little something out of that. A few of you were talking about ways that you get students to talk amongst each other. And I like hearing about that because I think that if I was still lecturing today and I was very used to the paradigm of pushing information out to the students and expecting it to take them into their heads, a first step I would want to think about is just how to get those students to bring any of their energy and thoughts out loud into the classroom. So kind of along those lines, if you were back trying to make a transition from performance lecturing to any sort of interactive or active learning, what is a small safe step that you would be trying? Like, what is a very little doable unit of introducing active learning?
I think when I started and I was, as you say, making the adjustment from the old school method to the active method, one of the frustrations I had beforehand is I had questions that I always wanted to hear the students answer. And so I would ask them and make it clear I was not asking rhetorically. I wanted them to respond. And I think we all know that when you're working that way, you're going to either be hearing from the usual suspects or just hearing nothing. And you're very glad for the usual suspects. But so what I did was when I started designing prompts for the groups, I started with those questions I would have asked anyway in the lecture, only difference now is I'm actually getting multiple responses and very thoughtful. I think what I was hearing earlier is that they can build up each other's confidence where they can talk about their thinking and their results beforehand, before we put them on the spot. And I do make my students stand up to share their results, to take responsibility for it.
So one thing I did was to take what I used to give them as a study guide, went back to my old PowerPoints and saw where the pieces mapped, broke those PowerPoints up into putting them in things the students should do. What I would have been telling the student study guide, well, I just put it in the slideshow. And that's what they are supposed to be looking at before they come to class anyway in the structure. So this is something that they've been exposed to. Whether they've done it or not, they've been exposed to it. And then you can have them do it in the class, and they're much more likely to do it having, at least a good number of them, having looked at it beforehand, even if they didn't actually do it beforehand.
So for us, it's giving them access to more material. That in that way they can, the discussion, they can look and they can come with different solutions. So it's not just the notebook that they have it or just the textbook. They have much more materials now in terms of the computers and in terms of, so that probably can help them, once they can find, like better answers and maybe different ones.
Based on the answers in Jeopardy style, I can extrapolate to what the question might have been.
I don't think you can. They veered pretty far from the original question.
This is a test for you, Leah.
How do you get students better prepared when they come to class?
Man, the original question was, what is a baby step that you can take to put a little bit of active learning into a lecture class? But we will accept discussion around either of these points.
Oh, I get 200 points.
Oh, I haven't been keeping a tally. Well,
This is like, whose line is it anyway?
well, if you want the points, you're going to have to answer.
How do you hold them accountable? Well, there are still, of course, traditional quizzes and exams which have been engineered for the new environment. I have to tell the story, I think, to answer that question, because one of the reasons I was interested in investigating active learning was because one of the librarians I was assigned to work with was doing it before I was. And when I was teaching core composition, we were required to take our class over to the library at least twice. And the librarian would conduct a session to help them learn how to do internet research and database research. And I observed this particular woman divide up my students into groups and give them each similar assignments. And then she said she was going to require them to come to the front of the room and share their results. And I thought to myself at the time, that'll never work. And I was obviously wrong. It worked, and I thought, well, if it worked, you know, in this kind of impromptu environment, if we plan for it, it can work. And I think the fact that they know that they're going to have to stand up before their peers and present this kind of psychologically creates some accountability. And I think most of them are looking for a chance to show what they can do and what they know. What they initially lack is the confidence to do that. And if you can give them that, they're ready to be accountable. You know.
So I'd like to take a moment here because the personnel change is a little bit awkward. Mayor, would you like to introduce yourself
Sure.
and your experience with large classes?
Sure. So I'm Ameya Kolarkar, and I am a lecturer in the physics department, and I teach classes up to 240 students, 245 because some people, of course, drop out, and I've had success in maintaining. After I started this active learning thing, about right now out of 400, about 13 students have dropped so far. And I've been teaching in active style forever. I never taught in the typical lecture style. So that's a different approach from, I think, most here. And I do a lot of fun things in class, and my main theme is alleviating the fear of physics, because the main reason the students do not do well, even if I know that they are capable of doing well, is because they are just afraid of answering the questions. And so much so that you ask them the same question in a different class or in a different setting, they can answer correctly, but ask them the same question. If you release this, what will happen? In physics class, they will think extra hard. Why is he asking this question? Something is not right. It's a trick question. Will it go, And so that is the fear that they come in with, and so I try to alleviate that, and so I do a lot of weird things, and I always have toys in front of the class, so they can just come there, relax, play with the toys, go back, start their work again.
Can you also tell us some of the negative evaluation comments, perceptions that you've had with students?
So based on that again, so students expect a lecture, and they see that since this is so difficult, I should solve all the problems for them in class, right in front of them, while they sleep. Of course, they didn't mention the last part, but so what I've done is I do the exact same thing, but I do it on video. So they have to watch a video before they come to class. And when they come to class, I can address their concerns that they tell me while they watch the video. And I answer those questions in class and address those concerns in class. And then I throw it out open to them, and they have to work out their worksheet problems. And I have learning assistants, that's the peer undergraduate students who help them out in class, and they move around along with me and some others and answer their questions and whatever they might have or they have missed.
The negative comments that I might get are more about he grades too hard, or I didn't understand what he wanted in the paper. I really don't get comments specifically about the active learning, and I think one of the reasons I circumvent that is that I use the Canvas again to announce before, at least a week before the class has even begun, a video of how an active learning class is going to work, so that they have time to change their mind if they don't want to be in that kind of class environment. They can see how it's going to work. And the other advice I would give is whatever techniques you're going to use, start right away and be consistent in using them. Let them know what to expect all along and that this is how it's going to work. And they're less inclined to react negatively to it.
Definitely get the comments of I'm not being taught in this class, I'm having to teach myself. Which they don't realize is actually kind of my goal. I'm providing the structure for them, but if they don't actually do it, they need to be the ones doing the learning, not being taught to. So I don't necessarily take those as bad evaluations, but of course they're meant.
So for us also, they have to put a lot of work, and that's much more than a regular class. So sometimes they don't like it.